Good evening everyone. Welcome to GVO weekly presentation. So today my presentation topic is going to be browser authentication testing by using AutoIt. So before I start the presentation, I'll tell you the reason why I select this topic. So when I was in GVO HR project, so we start doing Selenium automation over there. So in there we had an issue because as in GUI system we have browser authentication related scenario, we have to do Selenium automation on that. So when we doing the Selenium automation using this feature, we had an impediment where when we have multiple browsers, so Selenium is unable to get the correct user browser when it runs. So there me and Biman had to do an R&D for find a proper tool for that. So there we were able to find AutoIt. So today I'll show you how this AutoIt will help to do browser authentication with the use of Selenium. So first of all, I'll show you the outline of my presentation for today. The introduction. In introduction part, I'll tell you main thing what is web-based testing and what are the techniques we can use, and also the tools which related to web-based testing. And the next one is I'm going to talk about what is AutoIt and how this AutoIt feature can integrate with Selenium. And then I'll do a demo related to browser authentication using AutoIt, and then the references and Q&As. So first of all, what is web-based testing? So web-based testing is the name given to software testing that is focuses on the web application. So as you all know, we have software application testing as well as web application testing. So mainly as we take in GVO, we mostly consider about web application testing. So in web application testing, what we have to consider is there are three tier applications, that is browser, web server and the DB server. So in browser it might implement using HTML or JavaScript and many languages, and even for web server also we can use JavaScript, and for DB server Oracle, SQL or some other DB server. So when we are doing web-based testing, mainly the functionality we have to consider is we have to mention whether the whole overall functionality which related to the web application is working fine when we are delivering it to the client. So for that we have to consider few techniques. So these are the few techniques we used when doing web testing. So first one is functional testing. That is one of the main thing which we do for all testing iterations, and usability testing, security testing, compatibility testing and interface testing. So in upcoming slides I'll tell in brief description about these testing techniques. So what is functional testing? So functional testing is ensuring that the individual functions are working properly. It's mainly we are focusing whether the specifications which are mentioned by the client and whether those specification has been addressed by our implementation. So for that we can use form testing, cookie testing and database testing. So form testing means we just make sure that all the forms which related to our web application is working fine, and when it comes to cookie testing, we can test whether the cookie expiration or the cookie functionality is working fine in the web application, and also we have to make sure the database connection is working properly, because the data we are retrieving from the database are displaying in the web application as expected. And so usability testing, in some places usability testing is mentioned as one component with user interface testing, but most of the places they have mentioned usability testing and interface testing in two components. So usability testing is the extent we are testing the application for the easiness of usage. So mainly we have to focus on the user friendliness of the application. When it comes to web applications, there may be several users who are using the web application at the same time. So what we have to do is we have to make sure the user friendliness of the web application and all the functionalities are user friendly for the people who are using that web application. And also another main important criteria in usability testing is we have to avoid overcrowded content within the website. So if we have more content over the website, so then it is difficult for the user, the end users who are using, it's difficult for them to identify what are the main things that they can do by using the application. And also when we are developing a web application, we have to make sure that the application is working properly for all the users who are using that. So it may be expert users, or it may be the people who are using that at the very first time. So we have to make sure that every people who are using that, they can use it very friendliness and very easiness. And the performance testing. So performance testing is testing the web application and measure the performance under various scenarios. So this is one of the main feature in web applications, because at one given time there may be so many users who are using the web application. So we have to make sure whether the web applications is working properly when there are many users or many load for that website. So the performance testing includes few testing areas. The one is, you all know, the stress testing. That is, we are just checking whether the performance limit is okay, or whether we can test more than that limit. So that means if we can maximize the limit, then the website performance is okay. And the scalability testing, that is, scalability testing is something that if we change some area of the web application, we have to make sure that the changes are adaptable by the software and the hardware of the web applications and other areas where it uses. So we have to test the scalability of the web application, as well as we have to do the load testing. We have to make sure that the load which related to that website is working properly without any crashes to the web application. And the next one is the security testing. So security testing is one of the main important feature in web application. As we take, if we take a banking application or e-commerce application, there may be transaction, money transaction. So we have to make sure that the security of the web application is working properly, because if not, the users will not tend to use it. So when we are developing a web application, so we have to make sure the security of the web application is working properly, and there should not be unauthorized access to the pages as well. And for that we can use static testing and dynamic testing. So static testing is something that we consider that we are reviewing the code level vulnerabilities. So we can make sure that there are no threats can come across the code level of the system. And also the dynamic testing is the normal way how we do testing, that is just to test the application and check whether the security of the application is working properly or not. And the next one is compatibility testing. That is, you all know, so in nowadays we have so many devices and browsers we used for many countries. So depending on the user, the browsers and the devices they use is vary. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that the compatibility of the web application is working properly on the devices or the browsers the user is recommended. So in compatibility testing we have the main features what we have to consider is browser compatibleness and operating system compatibleness. That means we have to make sure that the web application is working properly in all the operating system. That means if we take a mobile application, so we have to make sure that the mobile application is working properly on iOS as well as Android. So likewise we have to make sure the operating system compatibility, and as I told you earlier, the mobile application, all the devices which used by the end users. We also need to know whether the user-defined devices, if user-defined, they need a notebook to use that application, or a mobile testing, or if there are printer devices who connect it, whether if a printer device is connected to the system also, we have to make sure that the printing functionality is working properly. So the compatibility testing is one of the main thing in web application testing. And the next one is interface testing. As I told you earlier, the interface testing, in some areas they have mentioned the interface testing and usability testing both in one category, but most of the areas they have mentioned into two categories. So in interface testing, what they check is, as there are 3-tier applications related to web applications, so we have to make sure all the interference of those applications are working properly. If not, there may be issues. So when the user is using that, if they come across with errors, or if they come across with so many issues, and if the developers who use that, who develop that, they don't know, if they don't know the reason, so that may be a huge issue. So what we have to do is, we have to make sure that the interfaces in between the system is working properly. And these are the few web testing tools. So iMacros and QF test, and one main popular one is Selenium. And so browser authentication testing, as I told you earlier, the security testing in some web application, they have used different security methods to secure their application. So browser authentication is another thing. So they can, what they are doing is, in HTTP proxy authentication has been implemented. So when user is logging to the browser, they require the username and password for the user to go to the correct URL what they want. So when we have browser authentication, so we have to make sure that the security is working properly. So if the application is having a proper browser authentication, or if they implement that, so then it restricts other users vulnerability access for that web application. So then I'll go to what is AutoIt. So AutoIt is it's designed by a scripting language to automate Windows GUI and general scripting, and also it is a very small tool, and it can run in any Windows application. And one of the main thing which is in AutoIt is, we can have the same features like we had in Selenium ID. So we can have the record feature as well. So once we record it, so once we record a functionality by using AutoIt script, so there what we have a feature is, we can use it as an exe file. So we can call that exe file through our code. So it is one of the main feature in AutoIt. So in upcoming slides, I'll show you what are the main features. So one thing is, it's easy for user to learn, because it gives, once we download the AutoIt file, they gave us the help file. For there, it defines so many help menus for AutoIt, and all the features available in the AutoIt, and how we can use those features. And also then the other one is simulates keystroke. So if we take, for an example, if we take the same scenario, the browser authentication. So when we log into the browser, we need to enter the username and password, and then click on OK button. So when we are doing enter key press, also we should be able to log in. So in some tools we are not able to record that one, but in AutoIt they have the feature when we have keystrokes, so it helps easy for user to simulate those as well, and also simulate mouse movements. the places where we cannot use keystrokes. So we can use mouse movement. So even in AutoIt they have the feature to integrate that as well. And the next one is, this is the one which I told you earlier, that can compile a standalone executable file. So I'll show you how we can do that. And the next one is Windows management. So we can do anything what we do in Windows Explorer. So we can resize the window, we can close the window. So those functionalities can also be simulated using AutoIt. And next one is Windows control. So as Selenium also have this one, Windows control like text boxes, combo boxes, checkbox like that. So we can simulate those controls and how we can use them for our system testing. And the last one is, as I told you earlier, they are giving a help file. So from there we can identify the places, the functions which related to AutoIt and how we can use it. So if we have any trouble when doing the scripting, so we can use this help file and do our scripting. So those are the main features, but they have many features in their site, but these are the main features related to AutoIt. And the next one is how we can download this. If you go to AutoIt page, there we have few sections over there, but if you do only AutoIt with configuring with Selenium, so what we can download is only the AutoIt X, this part. But if we do a recording, so we have to download AutoIt X as well as AutoIt script editor. So this script editor is the one which helps to record the functions which we perform. And then we'll see how we can combine AutoIt with Selenium. So what I'm going to do is create a new project. And under this project, here we have to add the Selenium after we add the Selenium to the references, and then we have to add AutoIt reference. So what we have to do is we have to browse, after we download the AutoIt, we have to browse to the folder where it locate, and what we have to do is we have to select this AutoIt x3.div file, and can include that as well. And then this is something common when we are doing Selenium. We are using page helpers to have time span. So I'll add another class under this one. pages section. Here this is the class where I have the whole functionalities which I'm going to show you today. So what I'm going to do is I just log into the Trivial HR system and just applying a leave. So under this pages folder, the apply leave class will include all the functions which I'm going to do. This is the script file, so I'll paste that as well. So this is the place where I'm going to run the test method. So there I'll describe in detail. So here I have created an instance of AutoIt, and then this is just to maximize the window, and then I'm going to the URL. And then this part is totally related to AutoIt. So what I'm doing is I'm wait until this authentication pop-up window is appear. So this text is the text which display in the authentication pop-up. So it's depending on the browser. This might be a difference. So in Firefox, what they're displaying is authentication required. So win wait means we are waiting until this pop-up is getting load, and then we win activate. So the pop-up is activate, and then I'm entering the username for that browser. So username, and here I have put thread.sleep. It's just because when it runs for the demo purpose I use this, because when it runs we are unable to show the typing way. So that's why I'm using this thread.sleep, and this is for the username, and then I click on tab key, and this is the password, and then again I'm press on enter key. As I told you earlier, it has the feature to simulate the keystrokes, so that's why I have put this enter key and tab key functions over here, and then I'm calling the function which related to the apply leave. So if I go to apply leave function, what I'm doing is I'm going to apply leave tab, and then I'm selecting the leave type, but I'm going to apply, and then the date, and select a reason, and driver is getting closed. So this is something a simple script, so I just use it just for the demo, and we'll try to run this. So as this is connecting to the Perseus server, this might get some time. So I took the username and then the password and click on enter key. And it navigates to the correct URL, and I think there's a timeout. Yes, there's a timeout, so I'll increase this time. That's why it didn't click on this apply button, so I'll run it again. So the script ran successfully. So after running the script, I have mentioned to close the browser. That's why it closed. Yes, that's the demo I used to show the functions. This is just a small function which mentioned in your AutoIt. So we have many things. So also without having this actions separately, another thing what you can do is you can record the whole process, and you can save the, once you record using AutoIt, it's just saving the file as an AutoIt script. So what you have to do is you can compile the script and create an exe file. So when you are running the Selenium script, what you can do is you can call that exe file. So without doing coding for separate actions, what you can do is you can just create one exe file and call it from here. So that is one another thing. So, and that's all for the demo. And yeah, these are the references I used to complete this presentation. And yeah, that's all. If you guys have any questions, you can raise.